What makes a battleship a dreadnought? HMS Dreadnought, launched 1906, gave its name to a whole new type of battleship, and made all the battleships that came before it more or less obsolete. But what's the difference? What are the features of a dreadnought that make it so much better than all the old pre-dreadnoughts? Well, number one is the all Big Gun Armament. You see, pre-dreadnoughts had a mixed armament. They'd have a small number of heavy guns, maybe 12 or 13-inch caliber, say 4 of them in 2 twin turrets, and a significantly larger number of smaller weapons, 5, 6, 7-inch guns, like 10 or 12 of those. So they didn't really focus on either light or heavy guns, they just had loads of them. The theory being that naval battles would happen both at longer ranges when you needed the heavy guns, and at much shorter ranges where the smaller caliber, faster firing guns would be more useful. So something like equal weighting was given to both. But dreadnoughts prioritized having as many big guns as possible. Yes, they kept a secondary battery of smaller guns for use against torpedo boats, but their primary armament was heavy guns. In the case of HMS Dreadnought, 10 12-inch guns. That's a main battery of 12-inch guns, 2.5 times bigger than the preceding class of British battleship. This was due to the fact that naval engagements were happening at longer and longer ranges. So to maximize long-range firepower, simplify range finding, and take advantage of more advanced fire control systems, it made perfect sense to have as many big guns as possible and to arrange the turrets to maximize the size of each salvo. Number 2, steam turbine propulsion. Now this one is a bit less clear-cut, because only the British first-generation dreadnoughts used steam turbines, which offered more power than the old reciprocating steam engines used on pre-dreadnoughts, enabling higher speeds, 21 knots in the case of HMS Dreadnought. But not everyone was sold on steam turbines straight away. They could be less fuel efficient at lower speeds, and it took a little while for the disadvantages to be overcome. For example, the US Navy only fully embraced the steam turbine with the Pennsylvania class in 1916, by which time we're into super dreadnought territory. What's the difference between a dreadnought and a super dreadnought? Well, that's another video, so please make sure you're following to see that one. Okay, number 3 is armor, though this one is probably the least revolutionary, in that many developments in armor had already been implemented on pre-dreadnoughts, like Krupp armor for example, but in general dreadnoughts were designed to resist the same heavy guns they themselves carried, with a strongly armoured citadel protecting the ship's most vital parts. I should also add that there's a whole bunch of ships, sometimes called semi-dreadnoughts, that might have one or more of the key features required to be a dreadnought. The Japanese Satsuma class, for example, as designed, were intended to have an all-big gun armament. In the end, they were completed with a mix of 10 and 12-inch guns, and one of them, Aki, was equipped with steam turbines. So if the ships had been completed as originally intended just a few years early, maybe we'd all be referring to the cutting-edge new battleships of World War I as Satsumas. Follow for more.